Hey,
How are you doing?
hi, how are you?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I've just been speaking to a lady about Australia and crying actually. So
Yeah.
forgive me if I'm yeah, it's a bit emotional. Um, but I am very much here for you and for what's going on for you guys. And I would really like to hear because there's so little filtering through. So what's happened with you, Derek, since I spoke to you last?
We've made quite a bit of progress, I think. We have spoken with several senators, Congress people. There's bills being put forth right now, so there's movement.
So when you arrived, just to give it some sort of uh, the chronology of what's happened, when you arrived at the kind of car park outside Washington D.C. I know it's not a car park, but you know what I mean, where you guys all met. From there, then kind of how did it unfold? You know, you arrived, you said hello to people, presumably that you had not met yet, or that
Yep.
and that must have been quite touching to all meet each other.
Oh yeah, no, it's nice to meet new people from all over the country and such like that. Uh, we spent a couple days in Washington D.C. Went out with our trucks. There's no room for those, and it's also illegal. But we spent a couple days in Washington D.C. Did some meetings and a little bit
Okay.
of sightseeing and stuff like
Uh-huh.
that. And no, it's been interesting. It's definitely been an experience.
And
So
so
we're
when you first went into Washington, what the first trip that you went, who was it that you saw, and what happened?
we met with, well, the group that I was with met with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not sure what his first name is, but his last name is Massey, and then Mr. Gates.
Okay.
Uh, there's three congressmen, or two congressmen and one congresswoman there from here. That we had a little bit of a town hall with them, a question and answer type deal, and we passed a couple of bills onto them that we've had professionally written
Okay.
for Congress. Um, but
And do
yeah,
you
it's
have sort of like briefly, could you tell me what those bills entail? Just, I know you won't be able to say it word for word, but just a sort of
yeah,
summary of what's being asked for.
primarily to have the Emergencies Act revoked
Okay.
altogether.
Hmm.
That is the big thing that needs to happen. Taking those emergency powers away from the government, so excuse me, so that they can't impose anything such as this on the American people again. That's what's giving them all their power right now. Is that?
Okay. Okay. So that's really, I mean, that's key, isn't it? Is
Yeah.
if you can have that lifted, then other things can be discussed, but that needs to go first because that is, as you said, what is giving them all of these all the authority and or the ability to seize all the control. So and what's the general reception that you've had from the politicians that you've met?
Well, all the politicians we've met are on our side, which is good. We need that, but we know they're on our side. That's the thing. I want to get people in front of those that are kind of sitting on the fence and not sure which direction to go.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to get in front of those that are not for us
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
And talk
make
to
them
them.
feel and make them understand and feel what
Mm-hmm.
the people are feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they care or not is a different story. But it's the point of the matter is just to get them in front of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
So
is it hard to, I mean, to arrange these meetings? So presumably what would happen is one of you would phone their secretary or whatever and say that you would like to come and speak to this person and can they make time for you? Is that kind of how it's working? And then, you know,
phone calls
and
and yeah, between phone calls and email or trying to set up on their schedule appointments and stuff like that. Um, those yeah, with the ones that are not totally in favor with us, whether
Mhm,
they're on the fence or they're against us, they are not responsive. They're not very
Right.
very responsive to it,
Hmm.
and that's literally no that's not really a surprise. That's normal. But
But it's also, I heard just a host of a news channel here talking about how we really need to talk to each other, not just to talk to other people who agree with us on any
right,
side of the
exactly,
fence. We need to talk
exactly.
across the fence really deeply, with respect and with a real genuine desire to get to a better place than the place that we're in. And that's very, very sad to hear that you are trying to, get an audience with somebody whose job is actually to listen to the people, all
Yeah,
of the people, not just the people that are saying what you want them to say, but the people that you disagree with, all of the people.
yeah,
And for them not to give you an audience, it's cowardly,
it
and
is.
it's wrong, because you are the people. They do work for all of you collectively, and if you come in peace with something to say that's relevant to what is going on at this moment in time in America, then you know you deserve to be heard. uh,
That's right.
it's very upsetting and annoying. And does that mean that you find yourself sort of in a holding bay almost at the moment?
Um, a little bit, but the people that we have spoken with that are on our side, they have a lot. Some of them have a lot of influence in
Okay.
in the government.
Okay.
So it is very helpful to have them, and don't get me wrong, but it's still the fact of the matter that we need to be in front of those who are not for us.
Hmm.
And and yeah, like you said, it's very cowardly for them to not even so much as give us the time of day when we are their constituents.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, and the thing is, if they won't give you the time of day, there's kind of almost, it's very difficult to know where to go from there, because they're the people with the power, collectively, all of them. Some of them, and some of them are on your side. But as we just said there, talking to them in an echo chamber of agreement about what's wrong is, we all need that to a degree, because it uplifts us and reminds us that we're not on our own, but it doesn't get us any further than that. What gets us further than that is talking to, as you quite rightly put it, there are people on this fence. There are people who are at the extreme end, and they really, really, it will be very, very difficult to change their mind. But there
Right.
are people who are in the middle, and it's, if you could get those people, you'd have enough people.
Yeah.
Um, I do you know, I mean, from talking to the other truckers, what is the next step for you guys? If you can't get them to, um if you can't
It,
get them to talk, uh
yeah. I'm not sure what they have in mind. Like I know I've got to head. I got to be back home on Wednesday because my daughter's
right.
got some
uh,
medical procedures that need to be done. So I told
okay,
her I'd be there.
of
So
course.
I'll be taking off here this week. But as for the next steps, all I'm trying to do is just everyone's just being told to just keep calling, keep sending emails to everybody, trying to get a meeting and such. But other than that, I'm really
I
not too
think
sure
that
what the
going,
plan is.
going back for your daughter, I
Yeah.
like you for that. That is exactly the right thing to do. um you've
Well,
come
and
all
we
this way, and you have tried. Really, you've tried. I know
yeah
you've sent me the odd message just saying, I'm desperately, contacting government officials trying to arrange appointments. So I know
yeah.
you've tried. Um,
But the other thing is the work also needs to be done in the states, individual states.
mhm.
So that's where even though I'm going home, I'm not done.
Ah,
I'm going to be rallying and working in our state in my home state.
everybody's grown, haven't they? And learned everything you've done is worthwhile because of what you've learned. We didn't know when we first spoke to each other what you were going to learn and I was going to
Yeah,
hear about from what was unfolding. This is not
yeah,
Canada, because what you're experiencing in terms of resistance is a different kind of resistance, and therefore your way of countering it is evolving as you come to understand better how how it's all organized, basically, and what you need to do in order to bring it down. And so I suppose what I'm trying to communicate is that, there was always going to be a point where working people have to go home. And if these people won't speak to you, that's not your fault. And that goes down in history as their fault.
Yeah, no, you just gotta you just have to reroute where your focus is.
And so,
and one of the things that I've learned in this whole trip, and I learned this actually 3 days ago when I was in DC, and I actually met with my state senators. They came out and spoke with us on Capitol Hill.
okay.
And
Wow.
up. Which our senators are Republicans, whatever the case. But that being said, like I'm not a citizen of the U.S. I'm a lawful permanent resident. I have my green card. I'm a Canadian citizen.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't legally vote right now in a federal election. That's the only thing that I can't do in this country is vote.
Okay.
So, but after speaking to my senators and realizing how disingenuous they are and how they are not there for the people of North Dakota, they are there to simply be there and pretend they're there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
That speaking to them that day, I have just started my paperwork for nationalization of citizenship because I am sick and tired of those type of politicians getting in, staying in, and not doing a damn thing for the people. I'm tired of it. So I'm going for my citizenship now so that I can knock those buggers out.
I'm so happy for you. That is wonderful to hear. Really wonderful to hear, because it's just, I can hear, you've just learned so much, and it's not, you haven't been defeated by the learning. You've absorbed it, and you're like, okay, all right, so what do I do here? And you have a plan to continue to try and make things better for your children and for your family and for your friends and for humanity. And it's really sad to hear that you felt that they're it's like actors on a stage, that all anybody's interested in is power. And so they're not actually interested in anything else at all, either having power or being associated with somebody who has power. So it is like being, an actor on a stage. Your purpose is to be powerful. Your purpose is not to, care for people, understand their problems, go into the community and harvest information, be sincere and genuine. People are not there for that reason. And we need to get people there in all of our countries who are there for that reason. Those people are most likely, if, wouldn't it be amazing if the world or the individual countries were run by people who knew what it was to live, real lives and work real jobs and be parents. Imagine how different our communities would be if those were the people who were making decisions about our lives.
Right.
So people like you, maybe.
Oh, there's only one way to find out.
I'm going to be talking to you for some time, I reckon. Yeah, I hope so. I hope all of you are inspired to go back to your communities and do what needs to be done, even if it does mean involving yourself in the world of politics in a way that you had never previously thought that you would.
No, I definitely never. I hate politics. I honestly do. I can't stand it. I don't want to be part of it, but I can't just let it stand by and let this kind of thing happen. That's not something I can allow.
You want to be part of something better.
Yep.
Yeah. And it has to be built because it's not here.
That's right.
So it's a wonderful, in a way, it's a wonderful thing, because
Yep.
we have the chance now to rebuild. We've all suffered so much from the system that we have endured intergenerationally for hundreds of years, the separation of our communities, the fact that we all live, without our extended families, the fact that there is no support for parents with children. It's not central to what we consider to be important. In fact, we pretty much making money and putting a roof over your head is what we all have to be dealing with all the time.
Right.
And it's harmed us, because if you think back to hunter-gatherer communities, we we worked hard. The women were collecting the wood, water, berries, keeping the camp tidy, supervising the children. The men are hunting. They're doing all the hard labor, and they're offering their protection to the tribe should the tribe be under threat. And everybody had a purpose, but the purpose was to stay alive and to keep your community well. It wasn't to make money.
Right.
And I'm not saying that model exclusively, that nobody should be allowed to express or feel different feelings from, what the roles were in that model. What I'm trying to say is that model was what we, it's where we came from, and it probably is what's healthiest for us. And so if we can get back to something,
get back to nature.
Absolutely. And really prioritize families, children. I mean, they're our most precious resource. They're everything, and yet, where is the number of young moms? I don't know what it's like in America, but here, mothers, they go home with their babies, and they're often, they're just in houses alone with, the washing and the crying baby, or the 2 or 3 crying children. Not the children always cry, but you know what I mean. I'm just trying to explain what it's like, and there's fathers, and they're getting almost no time to bond with their child and to grow the new relationship that begins to exist between you and your partner when a child comes into the world, and to grow that unit and that family. There's no respect for the man's right to be there, or his position. In my opinion, if a woman is, for instance, breastfeeding, she is very much at the the beck and call of a baby, which means that there's so many things she can't do, and she needs help. And her husband is the right person to help her, but we don't prioritize allowing him to be there for it. And then, women get back to work because they're under pressure to get back to work, because the mortgage can't be paid if they don't get back to work. And then people find themselves in the situation where they're paying enormous amounts of money for other people to look after their children, and they don't even really want to be doing it, but it's the way the world works, and they can't get out of it. And I just love the idea that perhaps you and other people like you might, really go back to your communities and try to, help this damage be healed.
Yep.
So how does it work then? Explain to me. So you go home, and do you know of other people who are organizing sort of rallies in your area, or do you know what the next step is? Do you have to go and search for people, or?
Well, a lot of the people I already have contact with because of this whole movement. So I'll be able to continue that contact and working forward. Now, North Dakota, where we're at, this particular state it's already signed up with the Convention of States, which allows for our constitutional amendments to be created and such. And we're also a very open state, free state, I guess, in a sense. So it's a very difficult scenario for me to work with, because I don't have a lot to work with. But my biggest thing is basically trying to get better people into office.
Mm-hmm.
Is where we're at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Because of what I have experienced with the politicians that we have for our state and representing our state. So yeah, I won't be able to run. I won't be able to do anything politically this year if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
Because
did you say the words? It's
I
frightening,
won't
isn't
have,
it?
I can't have my naturalization
Mm-hmm.
citizenship that soon,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but in 2 years I will.
Mm-hmm. And you
So
know what? I'm proud of you as well, because it's kind of brave to say, you know, even the word run, because, you know, it's putting yourself out there. It's saying, you know,
yep,
actually, do you know what? I might go home and attempt to do something that I never thought that I would be doing, you know, even 6 months ago. And
right,
that I know that other people are going to sort of deeply disagree with me and not be terribly encouraging of it. But I am actually going to put myself out there and I'm going to try. And
yep,
there's that side of it that's brave, and then there's the other side of it that's brave, that's you know, committing to it by saying that you might try. I just want you to know though that, you know, trying is good enough. Who knows what's going to unfold? You know, the
right,
fact that you want to try is
yep.
that's everything, and that's what you have in this moment. um and I guess, I mean, I don't know anything about American politics, so I don't, presumably it's layered like it is here. So if you wanted to get involved here, I think you would go to a local council meeting and then you might attempt to run to be a local councillor. Is it sort of similar over there?
For the most part, I'm not too sure. I'm not familiar with the whole process of getting set up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I mean, I would be happy to start out in my community as a school board
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm. That's the way to go.
person or a mayor or something like that. But the
Mm-hmm.
county I'm in is really good.
Mm-hmm.
We're very open. It's a very good county.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of what we have
Mm-hmm.
in the county.
That's
So
wonderful to hear.
I can't do much in the county. I'm happy with what we have.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have to extend my reach. So if I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't happy with what we had in a certain area or aspect of our county, I'd go for that first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't. I'm happy with what we got.
So
I'm not
it's a
happy
kind
with
of
I'm not happy with the county beside us.
uh
But I don't live in that county, so I can't do anything there. And it's also a native reservation, and I'm not a Native American, so I
right,
can't do
okay.
anything with that. I can't do that anything with that county.
So, so, so,
So
so you, it's so sorry, I'm just trying to understand how it works. So if you were to run for something, it would have to be for your county because that's where your residence is.
correct.
And as you're saying, you know, you actually think that things are being done reasonably well where you live. What allows you, is there a step up from that that allows you a broader influence?
Well, Governor of North Dakota is where I'd be going.
Right. So what you would
I'd be
need to
stepping
do,
right. I'd be stepping right up to the state level.
right?
Um,
Okay.
but
I
like I said,
think this is,
I can't do that until I'm a citizen.
yep,
So that's
yep.
where I'm stuck.
Uh-huh. And in the meantime, you build your profile, and by that I don't mean this nasty kind of media thing that has become, you know, people say, "Oh, build your profile. It doesn't matter who or what you say, just get yourself known." Yeah, that's not what I mean. I just mean,
Yeah.
you know, go to the board meetings for all the various things and learn the names of the people, listen to what people say, you know, collect information and experience, try to talk in public, you know, about something that matters to you, even if it's a, you know, a small thing, a school related thing or something, you know, work. And while you wait for that sort of citizenship, you know, it's good in a way, because if you tried to leap into something right now, you wouldn't have that time to go and explore, you know, grassroots politics in your area, because it sounds like, well, I don't know, is it true? Do you have to kind of become sort of a leader of your area before you could try to become anything more, or can you go
Nope.
straight to the top?
You can go straight to the
Okay.
job.
Okay. I do apologize. I didn't realize. Okay.
I mean,
So you're not actually, okay. It's a different aim then than I thought
yeah, Donald Trump, for example, was never a politician.
at all. Yes, of course. Yes.
He was
You're right.
a businessman. He was never a
Uh-huh.
politician. He was never a city council. He was never a mayor. He was never a governor or anything like that. And he went from there to president.
So that is actually possible.
Yes, it
So,
is. Absolutely.
so really you're going home and you're learning, you're going to have to research the governorship and how it comes about that somebody gets to be in that position or to be in the position to be voted, potentially
Right.
voted into that position
Right.
and go from there then, yeah?
Correct.
Okay, I'm so excited for you. You're such a nice person and you're trying so hard and I see, that you have the potential to really make a difference and to really follow this through if you so desire. I can see that in you, that if you set your sight on something, then you're going to give it your very, very best shot. And I think your wife will be proud of you, your kids will be proud of you, and I think you should be proud of you.
We'll find out.
Yeah. Well, and you'll continue to talk to me so that I can be the person who knows the governor of Idaho, Indiana.
North Dakota.
No, it would help if I could remember where you were from, hey? North Dakota, there you go. That following that journey is going to be fascinating. So just before I go then, did you say, what day did you say you need to go by?
I need to be home by Wednesday, so.
Okay, and I can't remember, was it 2 days that it took you?
That's 2 full days, yeah.
Okay, so Sunday night leaving or
Probably Monday.
leave on Monday? Okay, so
Yeah.
it doesn't leave you an enormous amount of time here. How are you going to spend it? Like at the moment, do you know of anything that you're supposed to be doing over the next few days, or are you guys waiting for phone calls?
Well, the thing is after today, both Congress and Senate are going to be out of sessions and heading home for 2
Okay.
weeks.
Oh,
So there really is, honestly, there really isn't a lot we can do at that point. Everyone's going to be gone. Some will be coming back right away, like before the 2 weeks. But again, those are going to be the ones that are on our side, that are trying to help us. Everybody else, they're gone.
yeah.
If they aren't gone already, they'll be gone by tomorrow.
Yeah.
So as for the next step over the weekend, for example, not a lot. I could probably leave tonight or tomorrow and not have a problem with it, just because there really isn't much that's going to go on.
I would say that given what you've just said there, that if you want to go home, and why wouldn't you want to go home? You must miss your family so much.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
If there's nothing that you can do, and you know what, don't take it like the mainstream media is words that I don't say in public, all those nasty words that are entirely appropriate and that I do say, just not when I'm on video, unless I forget and I say them accidentally. These are bad people misrepresenting good people, because good people are making them look and feel bad about what they've engaged in for the last 2 years.
Right.
There is nothing.
Well, the mainstream media here isn't even covering our rallies, our movement. They're not covering it at all. They're keeping it quiet.
Which is,
so most people
think about it, it's wild. The working
people
of America have driven from all over the country to ask, please, for freedom.
Yes.
And your media isn't touching it. If that doesn't tell everybody everything, then, well, I mean, I say nothing will. It appears that nothing will anyway,
Yeah.
It's a bit difficult at the moment, but, we mustn't give up. Going home is not giving up. Going home with the intention to, build on what you've learned That's all there is in life. You know, you do the best you can with what you've got at the time. Then you learn from whatever you did. And, you know, hopefully that informs what you do next. And all of it
Right.
is useful. All of it's important. But you know, I really feel for you guys. I mean, they're just the media here again not really covered you. I have to search, you know, if I want to find out, I have to get off Google, get onto DuckDuckGo and put in the right words, and then I'll get a few things. But they're all do you know what, they're derisive and mocking, and I can't read them all the way through, because I think, you know, why even if these people are wrong, even if these truckers are wrong about everything that they think and that they do, you know, they're honest people who have a concern, who feel so strongly about it that they're trying to put that concern in front of the people who have power. Why is that something to mock, you know, or deride? It just blows my mind, you know.
Right.
I'm kind of glad in a way that they're not covering you guys. God knows what they'd say, eh?
Yeah. I
You know?
I would actually
Oh, you're muted.
it is
There you go.
that
Sorry, you would actually say?
I would actually prefer to see what they're saying.
Yeah, yeah. But I
Because
mean,
at least we have something to counteract. You know,
uh,
I
uh,
would if they're at least saying something, people
mm-hmm,
know we're here and why and what they believe, what they're being told why,
mm-hmm,
or then they can counteract that.
mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm,
if they're not being, well, if they're not saying anything about it, then no one knows.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
no,
I would rather,
you're absolutely right. It's very clever, isn't it? It's not just
I would rather than
so you
I'd
could
rather than
actually,
yeah,
I I don't feel though, even though that is, you know, I don't feel disheartened, Derek. I don't
no,
feel like this. Um, I feel like was a really, really, really good and important thing, and that all the people who were involved in it have learned, have made connections, and
yep,
have seen more than they even already knew about
right,
every bad thing they thought might be true about how this all operates has now been confirmed for them sufficiently that they're no longer scared to stand up for what they believe in and say what they believe in, because
right,
even coming here, people were more tentative, I imagine. You know, you're coming off the back of your gut, but
yep,
a lot of people haven't, you know, spoken it too much because they're scared. um Everybody, I imagine, has grown in courage by meeting each other and realizing they're not alone in their thoughts and their concerns, learned to have a voice, learned to learned how it all works, even if you know, even if the structure needs to be brought down,
yep,
you know, you can't bring something down if you don't understand how it works, do you know?
right,
So,
exactly,
you know, the learning is extraordinary. The connections are so powerful. The connections you make here will be with you for a lifetime. You
yep,
know, people will be pulling favors from you and you'll be pulling favors for them. And I don't mean nefarious favors. I
right,
mean,
yeah,
people, you know, can you put my kids up for a night because they're coming through your state and I want someone
yeah,
to like clap eyes on them, please? Or, do you know, those kind of favors, proper human favors
right, right,
forever.
yeah,
And also you will be connected, those of you who do choose to go into politics and try to rearrange the structure and, you know, make America what you guys want it to be. um
right,
uh you'll have each other, you know.
yes,
You won't be the only one who goes home, I don't think, to wherever they came from and decides that they want to, you know, do more than what they've just done.
right,
And that makes a network of people across the
yep,
country. Yeah. So this has been so purposeful, so powerful, and you know, really proud of you guys. And I'm so sorry for how they've treated you. But that's why you're here, because you kind of knew that this was how they would treat you, and this has
Yeah,
to
well,
stop.
we actually got it easy compared to
Mm.
places like Australia, New
Oh
Zealand,
God.
Canada. We've got it so much easier because of our Constitution, because
Mm.
of our Second Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
If our government tried to do anything like that are in those countries, if they tried doing that to us,
Mm.
it would be a completely different story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You'd be seeing a whole different picture over on your side from us.
I think,
So
I mean,
and the government knows that.
it's
So they
it's interesting culturally, isn't it? Because I suppose what you're alluding to is that the Americans will pick up their arms if you antagonize them too much. You know, if you really get in the way of their values. And you are unique, I think, in terms of a Western nation where, you know, you don't think of the British. Well, we don't even have guns. There's no, you know, you can't have them. That was done to us a long time ago.
and there's a reason
So
for that because they don't want you to
and
have that freedom.
it's a very interesting one. You know, I'd never seen a gun until I was 19 years old, and I went. My uncle lives in Texas. He's an American. My mom's American. She's from
Yeah.
New York. And I was visiting him, and he took me to see my cousin. I was about 17, and my cousin was somewhere in his 20s, and he was living separately. And he took me to see my cousin, and they had a gun on their coffee table.
Oh yeah.
And I'd never seen a gun before, and
Yeah.
I was terrified of it. You know, just it looked so frightening to me because of its potential. Um, and I just
In
it
the wrong
reson
hands, you are correct. In the wrong
Yeah,
hands,
yeah,
you are
oh yeah,
correct.
and I completely agree with the phrase. You know that it's people that kill each other, not
Yeah.
not
It's not
weapons.
items.
They can't do
Exactly.
anything
It's
by
not
themselves.
right.
However, on the other
Well,
hand, I know that here
I'll
we
give
don't
you
have gun
yeah.
deaths particularly because
Right.
people can't get drunk and pick up a gun and, end an argument badly in a way that they never would have done really normally.
Right.
And
Yeah.
my
Well,
heart goes out in a way because so many people must have trashed their lives for a moment of stupidity, basically
yeah.
not. So I think there's something in there that, you know, that has legitimacy. But I also do understand, because I'm listening more to so many things, that the Americans feel that you take away their right to bear arms, then you take away their right to defend themselves against a corrupt government.
That's
And
just
so
it.
that,
Exactly. And you take away their right to be able to defend their freedom of speech. The Second Amendment was created to defend the first.
so tell me, just so that I don't, say the wrong thing, the Second Amendment, the details of it roughly are.
Let me actually. I don't want to miss say anything, so I'm actually
Yeah,
going to
no,
look
no, no,
that.
find it. That would be lovely.
So I have the exact amendment here.
Okay.
Let's
You're
see.
gone. Oh,
Yep.
you're looking at Google, you'll come back. Or don't Google. Use Mega Search. I have to tell you about Mega Search. Remind me.
Okay, so here's what the Second Amendment states. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Okay. And the First
That is-
Amendment, will you read it to me?
Yep, I'll look that up. So I got the exact.
Yeah, no, no, no. I want to hear it
Yep,
exact.
yep. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Mhm.
That's the First Amendment. So our freedom of speech, religion, and peaceful protest is our First Amendment right. And then, like I said, the Second Amendment protects the first.
Right. Okay. So, you end up, come back to me. I can't see you.
Yep. Just on my way back here. Just gotta find where it is here. There we go. There we go.
There you go. Right. Okay. So you look at somewhere like Australia now. Um, I used to live in Papua New Guinea for a couple of years when I was a kid, and I went to school there, and most of my teachers were Australian. And we also lived in other countries, and I went to international schools, and other children were Australian. So I have Australian friends. I've been to Australia, not often, and as a child. So it was a long time ago. But
Yep.
I had this perception of them as being very, wonderful people who would stand up against tyranny, and, quite strong in the sense that, you know, you watch them play cricket and you watch them, Australian men are, they seem fairly hardy, you would
Yeah,
usually, they seem like, so it was quite sort of, I mean, in a way, I don't know what their gun laws are actually. But
I
they
know.
went down so easily. They went
Yeah,
down. They just,
I know. Australia enacted gun buyback
okay, what does that
system.
mean?
Basically, the government will pay you pennies on the dollar, pretty much, for you to give up your firearms, which they then destroy.
Right, okay.
So, and then you can no longer buy firearms either.
So
So you're
Australia, a large percentage of whatever arms would have been in the population have were reclaimed before this occurred. Is that right?
right. To the best of my knowledge, I think I don't know if it was a lot, but I know a fair amount were sent in.
Mm.
And same
Um,
thing in Canada. Same thing in Canada. They passed a gun law here 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago. They put together a gun law banning. I think it was like 1,500 guns they banned.
mhm.
Well, overnight and by a stroke of a pen, most of my family became criminals because they're not going to give up their guns.
So so it's really, so let's say, it's really difficult for me to talk about this because I was conditioned. I'm one of those, bleeding heart liberals who was told
Right. Yeah.
all
Yeah.
all her life, that guns are bad and having guns is bad, and if you have guns, bad things happen. And I I suppose what you need is a government that is so good that they're not required. That would be your ideal situation. Because I think ultimately, I'm trying to think of scenarios. Like, my children are everything to me. I would
Right.
stand in front of my children, and danger in a heartbeat, just like every other parent. I know I'm not special in that. We're all, almost all of us would, you know, defend with whatever object we had at hand our children. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
your children have to not be at threat for that to be not required. Do you see where I'm saying?
Yep.
So if you then
Yep.
sort of spin that analogy out, you are in a position where you're kind of saying that the humanity has to be so profoundly respected and taken care of, and that we have to believe so deeply in the people who are helping to coordinate, lives and governments, that
Well,
we
the only,
don't need to be scared that they are going to turn on us. Now,
but it's
that
not.
kind of utopia is
It,
unlikely,
as long as evil exists in the world, that will never be the case. And it's not, you can't really pinpoint it to one group of people or one government or one individual. You can't do that. Evil exists in every single one of us. It's how we harness it, how we keep it at bay. Like, I would never dream of going out and shooting somebody with my gun. I just out of the blue, I could never do that. I have a
Mhm.
conscience. My conscience would never allow that. But if someone comes to my family and threatens them, I'll put them 6 feet under. I'm not afraid, and I'll sleep like a baby at night for it.
Mhm.
I'll sleep just fine. But it's the individual has evil in them. You have
Mhm.
evil. I have evil. Every person has evil within them,
Mhm.
and it's just a matter of how we contain that and
Mhm.
keep it at bay to where it's not harming anyone else.
So almost like coming to getting people to a place where we actually understand what makes us human, so that we can take, the yin and the yang. I don't know much about that. I'm just
Yeah,
using it as,
yeah,
an example, and really understand how to harness anything negative and use it as energy to fuel something positive, you
yeah.
know, change
Well,
of some kind, or
using like for me personally, I'd be using my evil for good,
hmm
to protect, to
hmm
serve, to protect others. Even if I saw somebody walking down the street and they got attacked, I don't know who that person is,
hmm
but I'm going over there and I'm gonna let my evil be released on the person conducting the crime,
hmm
or creating or expressing that evil onto someone else.
hmm
I am willing to take mine to protect somebody
hmm
and to help. And where you'll have obviously the one who is using their evil for nefarious and bad purposes and attacking somebody out of no reason
and
because
I
they
think,
want to, because they want to feel that. I
but
do it
that
out of
comes from
protect.
sort of being mentally unwell in a way, doesn't it? To
I
want
agree.
to
That
use
is,
your, it's just somebody who's so damaged that they have no control over this, and I think it leads into a conversation as well. I mean, I don't want to make you, people don't often talk about it, but, we've been deeply encouraged to sort of forget that, there are differences between men and women. My
yeah,
generation of women particularly, were sort of, it's that it was always that we were all equal, 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 but nobody was saying that, we're equally important, we're not equally the same.
that's right.
And
Absolutely. I agree.
if you don't, so I have a little boy, and I haven't done anything to, I have a little girl too. I have twins. So I have a little
Yeah.
boy and a little girl, and they're in the same house and they have access to the same toys. And I don't push them in any direction. And my little boy very much behaves like what you would consider a stereotype of interests. And my little girl is very stereotypical. I mean, she likes to climb and she's out there and she's wild and I love her, but she also likes to wear her princess dresses and
Yeah.
she is a little girl.
Yeah.
And watching that has made me realize, gosh, why have we never been allowed to talk about that? Why don't we, like the hunter-gatherer thing, men had a purpose. I mean, and some people say, well, the women did a lot of work. They do, they always do a lot of work, a lot of donkey work. But
Yeah.
in that structure, the men were willing to give up their lives if the community is threatened. They have a purpose.
Well,
And,
see,
they
men.
hunt. And I just mean, and if you have a purpose, if you know who you are, that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that the men would kind of like randomly kill any stranger who came anywhere nearby. It
No.
meant that they were willing, to give up their lives should the threat actually be real.
Right.
And I think probably that gave them something, an
Yeah.
identity, of who you are, eh, what you're here for. And when you take that away, and we have over the generations, there's
Yeah.
no, when you see tribes, indigenous tribes, they have rituals for children to pass through. So young men get to go out, at a certain age, and they do things without their parents in the wild. And, and then they come back and they're initiated sort of into the next stage of manhood. And we've obliterated all of these things. And we've lost something. We've made people unwell.
Yeah.
We've made it so that people will take guns and kill people, for no reason or for stupid reasons. We've made
Right.
people unwell. Um, and it would be really, really good to hear people talking about, you know, coming back to a place where we're allowed to talk about masculinity, to talk about
Yeah.
femininity, to talk about the different biology, and the different, did you ever, was that ever something that came up for you? Or were you much like me, kind of put through the whole, everyone's the same?
No, no. My family was very much, I grew up on the farm.
Okay.
I was the oldest of all my siblings by 8 years.
Okay.
So I
Torn spool
I
for a
was a
lot.
boy. That's just it. I'm the oldest of all my cousins and all that sort of stuff. I'm the oldest by the generation.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I grew up with, hey, I'm a boy. I'm getting out there. I'm helping do what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
With my kids, I treat them all. I do treat them all the same, like they're equal. I'll
Mm-hmm.
admit, but I want my girls to understand that yes, although you you have, I'm not going to say you have a position because that's not the right way to put it. Um, Biologically, yes, you're not going to be stronger than a man. You're not going to be faster than a man. You don't have the biology, the chemistry in your bodies to be able to do that.
I have to
But you
always,
have
my little
something,
girl, she's playing football with her brother, and it's
right?
frustrating for her. She is really good, actually. She's really good on
Yeah,
the ball. And but the boys are stronger than her. And so even if they're not as good as her, she can't keep the ball. And I have to keep
right,
explaining to her, if she was playing with other girls, she would be in a much better position to
right.
enjoy the game, show off her skills, and
Yeah,
be appreciated for how very good she actually is. Um,
so,
just like you said, she is not as big and strong as the boys, and it's her
right.
biology.
And my youngest daughter, just like yours, she's very very fast. Like
Mm-hmm.
she'll slow down to give others a chance, basically in any kind of race or if they're playing soccer. Like she's very very fast. But they understand. Like I said, I treat all three of my kids very much the same. I send them all outside to go play in the woods. I
Mm-hmm.
send them all outside with hatchets to go chop down some trees. I send them all just go do something. Get creative. Go have some fun. I don't care what you do. Just don't hurt each other and come back at the end. And
Oh.
hopefully you come back in one piece at the end of the day.
Uh-huh.
You know, I I just say just go do whatever. Do
You
whatever you
want them
want
to
to do
be
with. I want
free
them to
and
be
happy and
exactly free,
outside and
independent.
understand that they're connected to nature
Yep,
and to experience things and to take risks, that, trust them that they can measure their own sense of risk.
yep.
And, really, because I mean, at the moment, that's the closest to giving a child something healthy as you can manage. It's,
Like
it's a worthy cause.
I don't know how many other parents will give their 6-year-old kids a hatchet and a buck knife and say, "Go have some fun in the woods."
Do something with it. I think you're in the smallest proportion of parents. I mean, I'm thinking about
So,
Indiana and Lullaby. I actually I've got this ninja peeler, which I all don't like. I don't really use peelers. I grew up, peeling things with knives, but
yeah,
you get somebody bought me a peeler, and it's like lethal. Like the blade on it is crazy. I've like skinned bits off of my hand and my fingernails with it and stuff. And the other day, the children were using it to fashion
yep,
sticks into sort of weapons. Um, and go for it because you think you can do it. And if I believe in you, you will believe in you. And
yep,
if something does go wrong, which does happen occasionally,
yeah,
we'll
yeah,
deal with it,
yeah.
because it's part of life to
Yeah.
learn
Well,
and to take risks.
yeah, it's just like you were talking about with guns and such like that. Like my 6-year-old, I take them out. I take him and I take my girls out back of our field there, and I set up targets, and they go shooting
Mhm.
for the afternoon.
They'll be a better
My
shot
six,
than me. Hey?
yeah, but my 6-year-old loves the pistols. My 9-year-old loves the rifles, and
Hmm.
my 14-year-old last year was the first time she shot my 9 mil. So I
Hmm.
mean, and she was kind of nervous about it at first, but
Hmm.
I told her take 2 shots. That's it, just two.
Hmm.
And when I finally convinced her to do so, she emptied 3 more magazines.
Wow.
She
So,
didn't just take those 2 shots, but once she got over that fear,
mhm,
she just started emptying magazines.
mhm.
And I said, "Good,
Because really, I
keep it going."
suppose the joy of it is when you're in that context is just, can you hit the target? Like, can you become one
Right?
with, both, the weapon, which I mean, historically, man has always crafted weapons,
Yeah.
but,
Well,
from
tools.
hunter-gatherer times, it's
Yeah.
part of
We
who
call
we
them
are.
tools
Yeah.
because we call them tools because a weapon can be looked at negatively.
Okay. Right.
every
Yep.
every single thing we have in this world is a tool.
Hmm.
How it's used determines how it is labeled.
Okay. And
Because
that's
I mean, a
absolutely.
rifle. I mean, a hammer is a tool, but I can
Mm-hmm.
also use it as a weapon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So a gun is a tool. It's used for hunting,
Mm-hmm.
but it can also be used as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So for my family and how I raise them is I teach them how it is a tool
Mm-hmm.
and how it is used, how it is to be respected, and how it is to be secured, and pray to God. If you should ever need it for any other purpose, be ready for it, because
Mm-hmm.
someday you might. You never know, but you have to have the respect and the understanding of that tool
Mm-hmm.
to be able to use it properly in an event where you need to.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad to have the chance to have these conversations, because I don't think 3 or 4 years ago I would have had the capacity to allow for the fact that someone else knows more about something, a lot more than I do, and that if I listen, I might learn, you know. And it doesn't necessarily mean that when you listen that you're automatically sold on everything that the other
Right.
person is saying,
Absolutely.
but I like the fact that I, am listening to what you believe. And what I believe is kind of irrelevant because I haven't worked it out, because now what I believe is now going to be informed by
Right.
having had the chance to listen to what you believe. And that's kind of what we're talking about with the politicians who won't listen to you, is that there's so much humanity between us. When you talk to people, you get talking to people, you just realize, it's, I don't speak to many people that I don't have, some sort of affection for,
Right.
we're humans. And once you get to that level, and then you just allow everybody, what do you think? And let them tell you, what do they think about something? And then,
Right.
because we've kind of all been conditioned to think that if you bring two opposing opinions to the table, that means you're having an argument and you don't like each other. Do you see? That's kind of that's kind of what we've been led to believe. But in
Yeah.
fact,
We're
again,
actually having a civil discussion that is
well,
very productive.
say you were in a hunter-gatherer community and the sole purpose of your community is to survive and thrive. That's really all you're about, because you're not about money. Money isn't there.
Yep.
Then if two people come to the table and they've got opposing opinions, what they're saying is they both love their tribe, they both
Yes.
want the best for their tribe, and there is a forum where everybody speaks, knowing that everybody else understands that their
Yep.
only intention here is to share their thoughts about what would be best for these
Yeah.
people that they love.
Well, one of the things I always reference, and I don't know what your thought is on cats, but
That's okay.
I always tell people there's a million ways to skin a cat.
Oh gosh.
As long as the cat dies, I'm happy. No, I don't like cats. So I probably should show
Like,
your viewers
Derek, what
that
are you talking about?
cats have their purpose, but yeah, no. But there's a million ways to come up with a solution. As
Mhm,
long as we get to that solution one way or another, and as long as it is done safely and effectively,
mhm,
I don't care how we get there.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
I've in any kind of any of the guys that work for me,
mhm,
I tell them, I don't care how you come up with the solution or how we get to this point.
mhm, mhm,
You can take whichever direction of angles you want to get there.
mhm. I don't want to
As long as
micromanage
we
you
know that,
and tell
as
you
long
who
as
to
we know to
be
get
and
there.
what to think. So sorry, I was just saying, you don't want to micromanage them. You don't want to
No,
tell them who
not
to
even.
be. You want to give them the faith that that's the
Yeah.
objective, and I believe you can attain it, and I'm going to leave
And
it at that, unless you need help, in which case, call me.
yeah, and it makes people feel better about themselves.
Mhm,
It makes them feel more productive. It makes them
mhm,
feel more efficient. It
mhm,
makes them happier,
mhm,
knowing that they can take the control and go with it. And if
mhm,
they need help, they can either come to me or they can go to somebody else. Somebody else might have another route that
mhm,
they can take.
mhm,
And I'm okay with that. Feel
mhm,
free.
mhm,
As long as we end up at the same end line, end goal,
mhm.
I don't care how you get there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how long it takes you to get there. There's a million ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever makes you happier. There might be easier ways, there might be harder ways, there always will be. But it's what is easier and better for you as an individual, not for what's better for me. I want you to do what I want. It's because my way might be harder for you. You might have an easier way for you, and
Mm-hmm.
I might learn something from that.
Mm-hmm.
I might be able to figure. I might be able to make myself more efficient by watching you and having you do it, having you go
Mm-hmm.
your way.
Mm-hmm.
So even though say I'm leading a crew, you the person A has an easy way. Well, I'm gonna learn from him because I don't know everything. I'm gonna learn from him. Maybe I can improve myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I run things
Mm-hmm.
in my group, in my community, my business, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Is I want everyone else to do what they feel is easier and better for them,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm willing to help anywhere I can.
It sounds so respectful, and it sounds like if you were able to roll that out, take that philosophy that you've just espoused there, and allow more people to experience it, then the world would be a better place, because you're absolutely right. People need to be trusted. It's almost like a basic human need, isn't it? Because if
It is.
somebody trusts you, then you have uh, a reason to, fulfill your
Yes.
obligation, which is much more important and gives you a greater sense inside of humanity and integrity than
Yep.
money. Because at the end of the day, this kind of striving for money all the time, it doesn't give anybody any satisfaction inside. You see all these millionaires and billionaires and celebrities and so on and so forth, and they're all miserable. I know they're not all miserable all of the time, but they're trying to change themselves, they're trying to look this way, they're trying to look that way, they're wondering about how many people like them and their followers, and the acquisition of money itself is it doesn't make for happiness or
No.
contentment or any of these things. The things that
No.
matter.
The saying "money is the root of all evil" is wrong. It's
Okay.
the love of money is the root of
Yeah.
all evil.
Okay.
It's money itself is just an object. It's a thought.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a vision. That's what money is. It's not actual. It's not anything.
Mm-hmm.
But the love of, or the
Mm-hmm.
desire of money
Agreed.
is where greed and unhappiness comes from.
Mm-hmm. Because you don't actually need more money than you need to survive. I I
No.
I saw it's a meme, but I really thought it was poignant. I'm going to share it with you. It was just about how if you had a group of monkeys in a cage, which I would never do, by the way. I'm not about cages. Uh, but if you had a group of monkeys and you were watching them, and one of the monkeys was hoarding all of the bananas, and the other monkeys were starving, and the monkey wouldn't give the bananas to the monkeys that were starving, you would study the monkey that was hoarding the bananas to try and work out what was wrong with it. You know, you wouldn't think that it's
Yeah.
what it was doing was a good thing, and that
Right.
is a metaphor for what we do with money. There are people with so much money, and there are children who are starving. You know.
Yeah. Well, with your using your analogy there with the monkeys, what would make that monkey unhappy with all the bananas is that he would always have to be fighting to keep it.
As
He'd have to
well,
be
yeah.
fighting. He'd be very, very
Absolutely, yeah.
unhappy
That.
all the time because he would
Mhm.
always be fighting to keep his bananas.
Scared to lose the power,
But
because the bananas are the power, basically,
right,
and our money is power. So, and you're
exactly.
right. So then constant anxiety that you're going to lose this, that fuels all the behavior thereafter. It's all
Yep,
about keeping the bananas, you know.
that's right.
You're
You
so
can't
right.
enjoy. You can't enjoy the rest of your life, or you can't enjoy the rest of your time because you're so busy trying to fight off the others
Hmm. Hmm.
and trying to hoard and keep your bananas safe.
Hmm.
You don't have time to enjoy it.
Hmm. Hmm. And also, that it's not where we've been misdirected. Not all families. I mean, it sounds like you actually had quite a wholesome upbringing, and I love that. I want for children, all children, to have had, you know, a childhood that they look back on and they think they enjoyed. You know,
Yeah.
that is the way to set children up for life. You know, not academic success and not, you
No.
know, pressure to be, you know, uh, successful in careers. It's actually, you know, emotional well-being. And emotional well-being comes from feeling loved and having a nice childhood. It's not complicated, is it, at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Now, that's a waffle, and I can't remember why I started it. So you're spared whatever philosophy or theory I was just about to throw at you. I can't remember where it came from. What were you saying?
We were talking about monkeys.
That's not helping. I can't remember still. I can't remember where we were going. Anyway, it doesn't matter where we were going. It's really nice to hear you talk. You
Yeah.
know, you have nice things to say, important things to say. Um, it's nice to listen and hear you talk. I hope you grow into feeling more confident to talk, because, you know, we really do. That's what we need. We need to hear each other. We're like, we've all been manipulated and polarized, and maybe some people less than others. I mean, I went through the school system, pretty much every school I know. So in Kenya, it was all English teachers. That's, I think, where my accent comes from. So I'm actually Scottish. My father's Scottish and my mother's American. And I sound like I was born in England, and I wasn't. But I think I picked up my accent. And that international curriculum, so all the history, everything was English. So like, I know quite a bit about English history. I don't know anything about Scottish history. Um, the 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 conditioning, I think, I'm aware of. You know, I don't know, I'm a bit older than you, but say for instance, we were hit with the ozone layer. You know, that there was a
Mhm.
big hole in the ozone layer, and if we didn't all stop using CFCs, we were actually told, I remember, that, you know, the world was going to come to an end in, and
Oh yeah.
and we were given presentations that said, you know, in a couple of years, basically, that, you know, the world would
Yeah.
come to an end if people didn't stop using aerosols and stop using fridges. I remember randomly, that were
Yeah.
powered by this source. And that was a
And,
lot, when I look back
yeah.
now, to put on children, you know.
Yeah.
And
And now the hole is gone.
yeah, and so you look and you're like, oh, you know, we really were, you know, manipulated, taken advantage of, made to feel frightened. I mean, I am not, everything I feel like is, there's truth in, you know. So for instance, the environmental lobby, um, I understand I understand the skepticism about what's going on, in the sense that I've heard people talk about, you know, how it's creating a whole new industry. Basically, it's just creating more products for people to buy,
Yep.
and you're having to transfer from one power source to another power source, and you've got to buy all this stuff, and then you've also got to worry about the fact that if everything runs on electricity and they cut the electricity, then, you know, everything that's powered by electricity no longer works, including your car. um,
Right.
and I've also, but I mean, I have no problem with people wanting to clean up the ocean. I have no
No.
problem with people wanting to recycle plastic. I have no problem with straightforward things which make
Yeah.
perfect sense, that we should do as humans to take better care of our planet, you know?
Right. Like I am I do activate for, or I consider myself some sort of an activist on three levels.
Okay.
One, like you said, cleaning up the oceans and cleaning up recycling and cleaning up plastics and stuff like that. I think
Uh-huh.
that's a
Uh-huh. Really
fantastic idea
important.
to happen.
Uh-huh.
Two, soil conservation. We are losing
Oh,
our
yes.
topsoils.
Okay.
If we
Yep.
lose
Yep.
our
Yep.
topsoils, we can't create food. We
Mm-hmm.
die.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Three, deforestation. We
Yeah.
have to stop cutting down
The
forests,
Amazon.
trees. We
Uh-huh.
need those to create oxygen for us to breathe and to
Mm-hmm.
stay alive. Those three things I am a strong advocate for. I'm not a tree hugger
Mm-hmm.
by any
I
means,
am.
but
Oh, I'll hug a tree.
Oh yeah,
I
I do
mean,
too.
I go to
But
go out of my way to do it, but I mean, if there's
yeah,
one there
yeah.
and someone suggests it.
But I am a very strong advocate for against deforestation and
Hmm.
planting new life of trees and plants
Hmm. Hmm.
because of that purpose. We require it as human beings to survive.
Hmm. 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 It's so
So no, I
simple, isn't it? Those things that you listed there, they're, it's not complicated, and it
no,
doesn't involve any kind of cruelty or manipulation of people or anything. It's
none.
very, very simple. Take care of our soil so that we can grow things. I mean, I'm sure you probably know all about the sort of genetically modified seeds and
Oh
the fact
yeah,
that.
I won't touch any of that. I stay with the heirlooms. I do no till.
So,
I
do
do
you
not.
have a farm?
I've got some property. I'm looking at getting more,
Okay,
but
okay, because
I
you came from a farm, but I didn't know that
yeah,
you had any land. Okay, so you
yeah,
you farm as well as truck.
yes.
Oh wow, okay,
I engage in no-till operations, meaning I don't dig up my soils at all.
okay,
If anything, I create soil with my compost and everything else. I create soil. I don't take
okay.
away from the soil.
So
Um,
how do you sow things like seeds if you've gone mute? Um, how do you sow things like seeds if you don't sort of like, so I'm thinking like, I don't know anything about farming, so forgive my ignorance. Anything that I
that's right.
know, I've read in a book, a historical fiction book, and it's probably, not accurate. But anyway, here we
Yeah.
go. So you have to plow in furrows in order to plant seeds, or is that just
Nope.
not true?
You don't plow the soil at all. You leave the
Everything I've
soil
ever been
alone.
taught is a lie.
Well, the way I do it is I actually create soil by I lay down cardboard
Okay,
that doesn't have any ink or anything on it. No
okay,
writings or
okay,
anything on it. It's plain cardboard because it biodegrades and puts nutrients into the soil, but it also eliminates all the grasses and all the weeds that are
okay,
underneath
okay,
that
okay.
are already coming up through the old soil.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So then you lay that down, and then you lay your compost dirt and
Mhm,
manure and
mhm,
food or your biodegraded food,
mhm,
your everything, all your entire compost pile. You lay that on top, and you'll bring in some fresh soil,
mhm,
and then I put mulch down on top of it after I plant it. I put
mhm.
mulch down on top of it to allow moisture to set and to hold moisture into the ground so that it doesn't evaporate.
Okay, so two
And
questions. Do you just scatter the seed?
no, I poke a hole in the compost and the
Uh-huh.
soil, and then I put the seed only like a quarter of a half inch deep, and then I cover it back up.
Okay, and do you use a machine to do that, or you do that by hand?
Well, for my operation being as small as I just do it for homesteading. I just do that by hand.
So
There
in a
is
way, is
actually
that not the better way? Because
it
you
is
are not abusing the soil because you what you're doing is you're interacting with the universe in a way
yep
which the universe is okay for you to interact with it because it accepts that you need to grow food to live. So
right.
you're doing the
But there's
least damage.
but anything to do like if you're doing a larger field, there's a machine called a no-till seed drill. And that's
Okay.
exactly what it is. It pokes a hole in the ground and it
Mm-hmm.
sets the seed.
Mm-hmm.
As it rolls along, it just pokes the hole and it puts
Mm-hmm.
the seed in place.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't break up the ground at all. And
Okay.
the best part about doing that kind of operation is it obviously your plants are going to fight to
Mm-hmm.
survive. They're going to fight with the grasses and the weeds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now
Mm-hmm.
you want to go around and you want to pick those by hand if you can,
Mm-hmm.
but if you got a larger area, you can't really do that. But so any of your plants that do survive, and the first few years, it's going to be tough because they're going to be fighting, and the ground is not used to having this sort of a trans interaction between the plants and the weeds and such.
Mm-hmm.
But as you get further, 4, 5, 6 years down the road, your 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 soil is adapted to
Mm-hmm.
it,
Mm-hmm.
and your plants become much stronger. And in order to become stronger, they need more nutrients. So
Mm-hmm.
they begin to pull the nutrients from the weeds and the grasses and the ground, and creating a much more nutritious and much better fruit and vegetable
Mm-hmm.
for your body.
Mm-hmm. This is
And
so
actually,
cool.
and in turn, and in
Well,
turn, after 4, 5, 6 years, your production becomes far greater than somebody who tills every year and throws chemicals on the ground. Your production is better.
I think so many things come up for me there. One of them is that, isn't it crazy that we've raised generations, I'm one of them, of people who don't know how to grow their own food. You know,
That's right.
who've never done it. I've never done it.
Yeah.
I'm so sad for me, because hearing you talk about it, and anytime that I have ever potted in someone's garden, you know, I've done a lot of like the heavy labor work because I'm not particularly skilled, but I'll put in a shift. So I've cleared areas and I've, you know, dug up weeds and things like that. And I've always loved it. Had a great day. You know, might be hard to get out the door, but once you're out the door, it's so fulfilling, and there's something just so connected about it. So it strikes me hearing you talk about it. It's very beautiful, because you're connected to the earth, and your children presumably are also connected because they've learned from you. And that, you know,
we just moved out of the city here 2 years ago. We moved back out to the country, and when we were in town, we actually had a fairly good sized lot. We had a third of an acre lot, which was fairly good sized. But I built 9 garden beds in 2020 for us to start growing some of our own food. And that was the first time my kids were actually involved in gardening and the production of food and the growth of plants and such like that, really. And yeah, it's one of the best experiences you could ever give a child, because they get so excited. They will go out and take care of the weeds for you, because they want to. You give them that task, they'll go out and do it for you. And they want to pick the fruits and vegetables. And they want to try what they have created. They want to try it. And it's absolutely astonishing and amazing how they feel and how excited they get when it comes to being part of the growth of something.
It's beautiful, because you're so right, and I'm inspired. You know, I've got this shovel that's, you know, beside my clothes horse, the 2 of them, and the shovel was there because when I moved in just under a year ago, I was, you know, that this was going to happen. I'm going to have a vegetable patch, because it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous that I don't, and I know that I will benefit as a human, and my children will benefit if I go and get myself. And this is the perfect time of year to start making an effort here, because the ground's not frozen. So this conversation has inspired me. So thank you so much, because
it's good.
It really matters.
I want to encourage people to get out and create their own food and grow their own and raise their own. I mean, I don't know what your situation is over there for having backyard chickens for eggs.
Oh, sorry, let me just get my power cable.
Yeah.
Now, see, I don't know if I get away with chickens where I am. I am not.
Right. I don't know. But how about rabbits? How about rabbits? They can be pets. They can be pets. So you can probably do rabbits.
The cat might eat the rabbits.
They're in the cages, right?
But I do like. I think that's really, really important. It was the other thing I kind of wanted to ask you about, because I think you would have an informed opinion about it. Right, so when I asked you about, you know, when you're doing it by hand and you're keeping whatever your plot is to a manageable size, which is basically going to feed you, and there may be some excess which you can share with other people, or you can trade with other people. Once you go beyond that, you turn it into a business, and it becomes something that it's more difficult to maintain the caring aspect of it, the connection between man and the earth, if you are, you know, if the land size is bigger. And I mean, I don't know. I suppose what I'm saying is you turn it into a money-making operation. And what are your thoughts on that? Like, I mean, so for instance, would the world be a better place if everybody just had their own garden, farmed it, had a few chickens and goats and, you know, a cow, and traded? And, you know, would that this model that we have of aiming always to make more money than we already have, is that where it's at? Or what do you think?
My goal with that is to bring awareness to the people, to get them on board with
Oh, you're muted.
Okay. like if North Dakota, for example, if farmers would go away from focusing on crops for international trade and for all the stuff like that, anything that is huge scale, take it to the grain elevator at the end of the year and ship it off overseas or ship it off to manufacturers around the country, to create different types, like your cereals, for example, or bread or industrial breads or anything, really. Anything you find in a store has been processed. If farmers around North Dakota would take, 5 acres and create your fruits and vegetables for your community, and then take, several hundred acres, it would be several hundred to several thousand acres for all your animals. But if we could focus on homegrown, home raised, and focus on our communities first, there would be no reason any child should ever go hungry. Ever. We would end child hunger and hunger, period, for anybody. We would end hunger in this country in one season. One season, it'd be done. And you'd never have that happen again.
And so all we're talking about sort of,
you can't throw money at it. It's not going to, throwing money at it is not going to fix it. You need to have real tangible solutions. You have to support your communities and not worry about the money aspect of it. Like you said, trading, bartering. When all this currency goes to garbage, which is exactly what it is right now, it's garbage. Once it gets to that point, it's time to go back to that. That's the only way you're going to survive, is by bartering and trading. You're not going to be able to survive any other way.
So sort of like I've heard other people talk about it too, and I really, I think there's so much in it, and I'm not qualified to sort of really talk, knowledgeably about it. But if you decentralize government and you make it that people literally in their community, you take care of your community. So you work as you, just exactly as you described, and people have more of a clear purpose of who they are and what they're there for, because they are part of a community, and the community is in the business of making sure that everybody, particularly their children, are always fed. It's a good kind of clear aim. It's a very worthy one, and it's something that people could get behind.
If people would do that, the government would no longer exist.
There would be no need for the kind of government that we have at the moment, and certainly no need. Have you been told yet about probably, but anyway, I'll just recap it. Do you know how the World Health Organization is now trying to, or they're beginning their talks, which are going to allow them or enable them to have the 194 countries that are, member states of the WHO sign this legally binding agreement, which will mean that when the next pandemic comes up, rather than countries individually dealing with, the problems, that we will have this centralized, world government that will have, the legal power to make the decisions about how the countries should respond, given the situation. Now, to me, that's absolutely terrifying. And a very clever Australian lady said to me, what you're going to watch now is a lot of organizations like the CDC and so on being thrown under the bus, because if you do that, then you say to people, oh, your own government wasn't able to handle it well. Look, these organizations didn't handle it well. It would be so much better if we all had, this one organization that did it for everybody, and then everybody would be doing the same thing. And that absolutely terrifies me, because it is the antithesis of what we just discussed there.
But there's one thing with that, and a lot of countries, even if the U.S. signed on to it, which I'm sure they will, because of the administration we have, I'm sure they will. The problem with it is that we're armed.
Yeah,
And that
again,
is
we come back to
we are
that,
the
don't
one
we?
we are the one country in the world that has a constitution and
Hmm.
that has that right given to the people by God, and
Hmm.
is secured that if anyone tries to enter our soils and tries to impose the will of their government on us,
Hmm.
we will not stand down. We will not stand aside. We will not allow it to happen.
And it's
And
so
we have the means
fascinating
of
because
keeping that.
I get the sense, even like with your group of people coming towards here, because obviously the Canadians had just done what they did, you know, peace, love, and you're a Canadian. So you know all about it.
Yep.
Respect everybody else, allow everybody to live their life, and make sure that you preserve the right of everybody to live that life
Yep.
the way they choose to, as long as they're not harming anybody. So the Canadians
Right.
they went in peace, and it was extraordinary to watch. And I think we all learn a lot from what we
Right.
were able to see of it. It was very, very, very poignant and historical. However,
Yep.
the Americans have a different, you know, cultural constitution, if you like, as well as a different constitution, but if they're a different cultural makeup.
Yep.
And the the expectation was, I think, especially by the mainstream media, that you guys are all going to turn up in Washington, D.C., and, you know, there's going to be riots because of, you know, because the fact that, you know, you can't keep the peace. You know, you're incapable of keeping the peace, that Americans are, you know, by nature, you know,
Right.
they're just, someone's going to break ranks and it's going to be a disaster. Yeah. I
That's
think that
exactly
what
what they
you've
thought was
done,
coming.
though, you've proved that that's garbage,
Yeah.
because that, you know, that do you see, that's another huge achievement. They're not reporting on it, but
No, that's right.
it's a huge achievement. Everybody thought that if the Americans go looking for freedom, that there's going to be a gun showdown, you know, like the OK Corral
It's
at
gonna be the
some
Wild
point.
West all over again.
Yeah. And you know what? There hasn't been.
That's right.
There has been
But
nothing
I
of
think,
the sort.
but our government is, and rightfully so, needs to be afraid of us.
Hmm.
We the people are in charge, not them.
Hmm.
And that, and like I said, rightfully so, they need to be afraid of that
And so
because,
that's what you have in America that we have not got, that the Australians have not
right,
got, that the New Zealanders have not got, that the
right,
Canadians have not got, that the poor French, I don't know if you know much about them, they don't have it either. So it's a unique kind of, and we've all been conditioned to think of it, I have to be honest with you, that, you know, that it's a bad thing that you guys have guns, that the people who are supportive of guns, you know, like Obama, woo, all through all of us, all our lives. That's what Europe's gotten. That's what Australia's gotten. That's what New
right.
Zealand's gotten. Now, I'm not saying that there was nothing right about Obama. All I mean is that with regards to, I mean, I don't know enough about Obama to say anything. You know, all I mean is that with regards to, you know, guns, what he was saying was largely what was being fed to children all over the world as I was growing up. So,
And
you
that,
know,
and
our.
that, and that's what they're trying to teach our children in schools.
Mhm.
That's what they're trying to make children afraid of on our media
Mhm.
is guns. They,
Mhm.
that's why there's so many politicians and so many activist groups out here in America that are trying to get our guns taken away from us.
Mhm. See, I had
But
literally never ever thought about it. And the first time I came across it, I was watching a documentary and somebody was just trying to explain you know, the situation, how it had come to where we were. And one of the things that they covered was what you're talking about. They talked about the fact that the Americans have guns and that the government were trying to remove them incrementally, you know, offering them hot dogs and whatever. All the Americans are always offering
yeah,
people, you know, lottery tickets or whatever to give up your freedom and your rights. But
right.
um, so, but that essentially they couldn't make it law, or it's not law that you have to give them up, and people are not giving them up. And some of them have been given up, but
They
people
can,
who, you
yeah,
know, they're keeping
they, they
their weapons.
yeah, they can make laws that can uh, minimize what attachments you can get. Like there's
Right.
there's a magazine ban law in like California, for example. 10 rounds is all you can get. 10-round
Mhm.
magazine. Anything more than that, you can go to jail for it.
Right.
Where
So is that a
in
good
North,
thing,
in North
do you
Dakota,
think?
was that?
Is that a good thing, do you think? I don't know.
No, no, it's
It's
not.
not a good thing. So you should just
No.
be able to
And
buy
there,
whatever you
and,
want.
and the reason why that is has a very good, there's a very good reason why that is, why I say that, why it's not good.
Mhm.
And any military personnel will confirm that when you're in a situation where you need to defend yourself or defend your property, if you're at war,
Mhm.
the ratio of 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 bullets that will hit your target
Mhm.
is 1 in 10.
Okay, so if you only have 10 and you're a
So if you
lousy
only have
shot,
10 and you're a
then
lucky shot, you might get 1, you might get 2 out of 10
mhm.
if you're lucky. When
That's what I
you
was saying.
are
I was
when
actually
you're
saying if you're a lousy shot, not a lucky shot. If you're a
yeah,
lousy shot and you've only got 10, then
even if you've been practicing for years, your adrenaline and your body is at such a heightened state that you
might
think
not.
you're not there. You're not present in mentally in the situation. Your body is taking control.
But is it
So
not? I
you
mean, so in a way, so for instance, if you look at drugs, a lot of people advocate, just stop criminalizing it, just allow for it so that you don't have drug barons and you don't have underground gangs and you don't have the killing and the war on drugs that people spending lots of money on, and just allow for it and accept that some people will not be able to control it, like for instance you get with alcohol, and that you will need to pick up the pieces, and therefore you should, at least it makes them visible because they're not having to hide. Now in a way, is that sort of the same kind of thing as you're saying about guns? In a way, you're kind of saying just allow for it because
I think that it has to be in I believe that anyone who gets a firearm needs to go through some sort of training.
okay.
That that's my own opinion, because I I think if you're going to have something, a tool like that, you need to know how it works. You need
Mm-hmm.
to know how to secure it. You need to know how to respect that
Mm-hmm.
tool and understand what it is capable of. Not just have it to say that you have it. I believe everybody should have one for personal protection. But if you have one, you need to understand how to use it properly, how to respect what it is and how it works. So I think there should be some sort of level of training for everyone who purchases a firearm.
What do you
Go to
kind of
your
feel about like the accidents that happen? Because of course those do get reported sometimes, and the
right,
awful ones are like when a child, you know.
right.
So how do you feel about that? What's your kind of what do you think would need to happen for that to stop happening? Do you see? Because if you're going to say, okay, let's have guns and let's have everybody trained to use them, and
Yeah,
let's keep them so that we can't have a tyrannical government, but let's not use them for any purpose other than, saving ourselves from
right.
attack. Um,
That's
then
that's
you
where
need
the
to eliminate this
yeah,
danger of,
it's,
the accidents.
right. It's a very difficult topic, um, because that's where we go back to there's evil in every one of us.
Mhm.
We don't know who's going to do it for the wrong purposes. We don't know that.
Mhm.
We can't assume that you're going to go out and do that, or that I'm going to go out and do that.
I
And
actually
we
mean
we
more
can't
like just an
from that.
accident, just a child picking one
Right,
up,
right,
and
right.
as opposed. So how do you feel like that is the training that the people need to understand, that
Yes.
they need to put them somewhere
The
safe?
like if it's a child accident where, say, the child got a hold of it and it went off, that is where the parent needs to understand that they should have the training in how to safely secure that tool, that firearm, so that that could not happen. Whether it's a barrel lock, or at the very least take the magazine and empty the magazine out and keep it
Mhm.
away, keep it locked safe.
Mhm.
There's tons of ways to secure it properly and to keep it out of the reach of children.
Mhm.
But more importantly than that, teach your children.
Mhm.
I'm teaching my children at, I started teaching my children at 5 years old about
Mhm.
firearms. They know what a firearm can do. They know how to use it properly. They know how to safely and efficiently use it, and the times as to when to use it.
Mhm.
And they know how to safely secure it.
Mhm.
Because that is one of the first things I teach them, is how to secure it.
Mhm.
Always treat the very first rule any instructor will ever tell you is, when you are handed a firearm, the very first thing you do is check to see if it's loaded.
Mhm.
Even if the instructor checked it first and you
Mhm.
saw that it wasn't, you check it again.
Mhm.
There's always a chain of command, a chain of custody in that.
Mhm.
You must protect yourself by checking to make sure that firearm is empty first.
Mhm.
Take the magazine out, rack the slide, make sure everything is clean and clear. Now you know that again, that firearm is safe to handle. You pass it off to someone else, even though it's been checked twice, you pass it to someone else, they must check it. Make sure it is safe and secure to handle. That is what we teach our children, those of us that understand that they are tools and not weapons. And we want them to respect the firearm.
Mhm.
My 5-year-old, my 6-year-old can go out there. He'll go out there, he'll pick up a firearm, he'll check it, he'll rack it, make sure everything is good and clean. He'll check his magazine, make sure everything's good to go. He'll go over to the stand, he'll put the magazine in, rack the slide, and he'll check around to make sure no one's anywhere near in front of his line of sight, and then he'll go at the target. He knows to do that, and when he's done, he takes the magazine out, he racks the slide, make sure it's open, make sure it's clean and clear, and then
Mhm.
he walks back to the table. My
Mhm.
6-year-old knows that
Mhm. Mhm.
because I've trained him to do that. He is very, very safe.
Mhm.
You take a child that has never seen a gun before, like in your instance, for example. I know you're an
Mhm.
adult, but a child in that situation,
Mhm. Oh
they
yeah,
think
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
toy. It's a toy, and oh, cool. I played cops and robbers when I, or in,
Mhm.
cowboys and Indians when I was
Mhm.
younger.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, cool. Let's play cops and robbers. Bang, 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 boom.
Mhm.
Uh-oh,
Mhm.
something happened. You know, that's where things go wrong, is when you don't have training for the children and it is not safely secured by the parent.
It's
That's where
so
that's
um
where most problems arise. I would say 98% of problems arise in those exact instances.
it's so and I mean and the parental guilt after that, it's just the reason nobody wants to sort of dwell on it or say anything is because everybody knows that they know and they are going to be feeling horrendous, so
Yeah,
we don't really need to talk about it kind of thing, because it's
yeah,
obvious kind of. I was just thinking as you were talking about all the tools that my father has, and my children's father also has a lot of tools, and
yeah.
many of them are very dangerous. Table saws,
Right, right,
chainsaws,
absolutely.
um, and we don't ban those.
Right.
And I don't worry about my children trying to get a hold of them. They're put away.
Yeah,
The kids are told that they're not to use them, and we and explained why. And
yeah,
be honest, when anything's gotten out, they're given a shot, just like you said there. So if the
right.
drill comes out, they get a turn. They like both of them know how to handle a drill. Both of them know, they're far more advanced than I was at their age when it comes to tools.
Yeah,
And tools are dangerous. I mean, a tool's even a dangerous weapon. So a drill is
right,
even a dangerous weapon. Used
right.
dangerously. Um, so it's so interesting hearing you talk. It makes me realize, just how much I have been only told one point of view
Yeah.
and not
Well,
been allowed to even countenance listening to the other point of view. And I'm so
well,
disappointed to have been, for that to have happened to me and to all of humans. Like, why have we, it's so wrong that we have not been at the table so much sooner talking about this stuff.
yeah.
It's,
And,
it's,
and
it's,
to use your example of using a saw, you can very, very quickly and easily remove a finger.
oh, yeah.
Very, very quickly and easily, without even a thought. It can happen. And that's where all my kids all know how to use them, because I have them at home. We're building our
Mm-hmm,
house, and
mm-hmm,
they've had a chance to operate them.
mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm,
they also understand, you know, I've taught them, I've trained them to keep your hands away, use guides, use whatever you can to keep body parts away from the blades.
Mm-hmm.
That's the exact same thing as a firearm, as a knife, as a hatchet. Like I said, my 6-year-old's running around with a hatchet in the forest, chopping down trees
Well,
at,
you
at
have
five,
this
six
thing
years
where,
old.
a lot of what you're talking about is actually the giving people the time and the mental well-being to parent properly.
Yep.
Because, and when I say properly, please, if anyone's listening, I'm not trying to judge. I'm struggling sometimes for the right words, but having the time and the frame of mind, which rather than containing your children, allowing them the freedom and having to
Let them
be
get out there.
sentient and aware of what's going on so that there's supervision all the time, allowing them to take risks while you're nearby, giving them guidance, and then hovering at appropriately, extended
Yeah.
distances while
Yeah.
they grow in confidence with what you've taught them. All of
They need
these
to be
things,
independent. They
yeah,
need to become
but
independent.
they don't become independent without the parent giving them the tools and having the time and the energy to show them. So for instance, in your instance, I love to hear about your children. They know how to plant food, they know how to build a house. Okay, maybe not quite, but they're working on it.
Yeah. They're learning.
Their father takes the time to show them how tools work and to try to make it so that they can get through life using them and not being hurt by them.
Yeah.
It sounds like they have comfort. You would have hoped that through that they will have self-confidence about their abilities, because they are these 6-year-olds who can use saws and who know how to shoot on target and empty something. I mean, that's really weird for me to say out loud, but there you go. I just said it because I do believe that children do. I try to do it with my own children. They assess, as long as you support them and give them the information that they require, they are no more stupid than we are as adults. And they have the same range of emotions that we do. So as long
Yep.
as you give them the information and you supervise them until they have the physical capacity in terms of coordination to do things, because often when they want to do stuff when they're too young to do it, like you've got toddlers wanting to do stuff and really they're not quite coordinated enough for whatever it is that they want to do, so you're doing it with them and you're limiting whatever can be done. It takes parenting, you obviously, to get to this stage where you let your children run free.
Yep.
You have spent years paying
Oh,
attention, and
yeah.
I think that that's been destroyed for most people as well, the
Yeah.
opportunity to spend that time.
Yeah. And well, in your situation where you don't have firearms and things like that, um, like my kids too, they help out in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I think my boy was even 4 years old when we got him his first kitchen knife set,
Okay.
where he could chop vegetables
Uh-huh.
for us
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
at 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My
And
daughters
it
were the
gives
same way.
him purpose. He has a
Exactly.
function in the family. He has
The
a
kids
job.
are all learning that they are creating something that we can consume, that and it makes them feel better about themselves, knowing that they made that, they did that.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we're supervising them. We're making sure they aren't putting their fingers and chopping the fingers off, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they have learned
Mm-hmm.
that, and now that he's 7, we're saying, okay, well, go cut this up for us, and we
Uh-huh.
just let him go
Uh-huh.
because he understands now
That
how to do it safely
uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
and
And
doing
all
stuff
the
like that.
research does indicate that we have suffered, you know from not uh not doing this with our children. Children need to be given independence. They need to be scaffolded, and then they need to be approved of, and but know that their parent believes in them,
Yep.
and feel that they are capable and trusted,
Yes.
and given age appropriate challenges
But
in order to keep.
yeah, yeah, define age appropriate. I mean, for
Yeah, no,
me,
I don't even mean that. I
for
suppose
that,
what I
yeah, no,
mean is, like,
I know
don't
what you're
leave the
saying. Like,
toddler alone with something. but
Right, right.
by
But I mean,
age
like,
appropriate, I mean like
95%
really
of
age
people,
appropriate.
yeah, 95% of people will never give their 5, 6, 7-year-old a firearm to shoot.
Mhm.
95% will not allow them to use a butcher knife to cut up vegetables,
And so do
or
you
things like
sincerely
that.
believe that, so for instance, I'm thinking if I brought my little boy and girl to meet your children would be able to do something that my children weren't able to do.
But
And what would
there's another
happen
good part. There's
is
another
that
good
my
part to
children,
that.
say again?
There's another really good part to that is if you brought your children here or vice versa, children learn better from other children.
Yeah, they
My
do.
my boy went through what we call the Montessori system for
Oh,
two
I love
years.
it. I love it. Yes.
Okay, and and it's child led, and
Hmm.
children learn from the younger children learn from the older children,
They do.
and
And we don't
such
have
like
that.
that. So that's
They need it.
and
They
that's
need
where
it so much.
exactly they need to learn from those that are around them, so they can
Hmm.
see how things are done differently.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if there's something that's one person doesn't know and the other person does, okay, let's work together to learn it all. Let's
Hmm.
learn both of it.
Hmm.
So it's children are very, very good at that, and
Hmm.
they want to do it.
Hmm.
So it's a huge advantage to find people like that or find other children like that that
Hmm.
have a certain set of skills and knowledge that yours don't, because then yours can learn that, and vice
Hmm.
versa.
Hmm. And what's interesting is that, so I'm thinking to myself, so if my kids came over and they saw your children shooting, they would want to try. I know that.
Exactly.
They would
Yep.
want to turn.
Yep.
And then I would be faced with do I allow for that? And because I trust them, and because I myself would find it very hard to say, oh, I don't want to turn of something that looks like, I'd like to know if I could do that. I would
Right.
end up saying, yes, I know I would, as long as I was around somebody that I trusted to
Absolutely.
supervise them through it, because I don't have
Yep.
any idea what I'm doing. And
And I would probably have you, and in order to make you comfortable, I would have you do it first
and then I mean,
to understand how I go through the process of teaching and training to make you feel comfortable with doing so. I would walk you through the process first, let your kids see you do it, and then you can understand, then you can feel safer about it. And then I would
then
go through the exact
isn't
same
it
training
weird? I've
process.
been so conditioned that as you're speaking, I'm like, it's being indoctrinated into a cult, like in a way, because do you see what I mean? Like in my brain's like, oh, do you know, then you're joining in. You're joining in with this thing which you're not supposed to do. And as soon as you do it, then boom, you're going to be unable to not. It's so bizarre. I'm so interested in the
Yeah.
conditioning that has clearly gone on in my head with
Right.
regard to weapons. It's very, I mean, I love to have a go at anything, to be honest. I'm not, I'm not always particularly, well, actually, I'm reasonably athletic. I love trying
Yeah.
things. I would find it very hard to say
Yeah.
no to trying to do something that I hadn't done before. And I know myself well enough to know that you could, teach me how to shoot a gun and I'm not going to shoot anyone.
Right.
Like, it's ridiculous, absurd to think that I would
Well,
actually, just because you had shown me how, suddenly become the kind of person that was going to,
right.
go off on a
Right.
rampage and hurt somebody. Um, and so, but
Any,
it's
but
really interesting to even allow myself to think
yeah,
that.
but about 80% of people who have never shot a firearm ever in their lives, the first time they do it, and the first time they've been trained properly in how to do it, how to handle it and such, after the first time, it's almost like a complete mind shift.
Mm,
And
mm,
80% of people completely change their opinions in one session of
uh-huh.
learning and understanding exactly what it is and how it operates and how
So,
to do it so safely.
I am. It's also very different in America. So, like my uncle, he has I believe he has a gun, and it's for protection,
Yeah.
because he doesn't want. I don't know what it is about the UK. Like, I suppose, I mean, then you make the argument, we don't have guns. So if somebody burgles you, the chances that they're going to have a firearm are fairly minimal. it's not impossible, but they're
Right.
fairly minimal. So, you know, they're going to take your stuff, you know. But most people wouldn't want to get engaged in, you know, life or death over your TV or, you know, your laptop or whatever. I don't know. Maybe other people would. To me, like, I mean, I'd really rather you didn't steal my stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to kill you for it, kind of thing.
Right.
It's
One
different
thing
when
that
it comes
most
to my children, obviously.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, one thing that most people don't understand, uh, well, even a lot of people in this country don't understand, is the moment someone engages you in your home, that is your sanctuary. Your home is your sanctuary. That is where you. That is your safe place.
your place of
Once
peace,
once
yeah,
some once somebody breaks through that barrier,
it's
they now
violation.
they now forfeit their rights and their right to life. Because if your family is in that home or anything of the sorts, and you don't know if they're there to hurt you or just to steal your TV, you don't know why
Mm,
they're there. But the
mm,
moment they break through that barrier of your sanctuary, of your protective property, they forfeit their right to life. You have every
yeah.
right to defend at all costs because you don't know why they're there.
But I
There's
mean,
been,
even that being the
yeah,
case, if that's what you believe, you're still not talking about shooting someone because they're stealing your
no,
TV. You're talking
no,
about it's okay to have a gun because if someone comes in and it turns out they're not after your TV, they're after, you know, God forbid,
they're after you or
something a
your
lot more
family.
precious to you,
Right,
that you are then in a position to say, well, absolutely not. You don't get to do that to my family.
right.
Um,
You're not going to have the time to ask questions, and they're not going to tell you. Obviously, it just doesn't happen. You don't have time to ask the person who's in there, "Are you here for the TV or are you here for me?" If
And
you're here
what
for the
you have
TV,
to
go ahead
do
and go
though
ahead and
here
take it.
though, these people
You
who
know,
are perpetrating crimes, I think we both kind of were of one mind that, you know, people are unwell. If that, you know, something has
very
happened, you know, they're not well. If you find yourself in a position where you're stealing from people or, you know, where you're, you know, addicted to substances or where you can't, you
right,
know, it's an unwellness. It's a, yeah, and it's not entirely that person's fault. It's, you know, it is very socially constructed that a lot of our people fall through the cracks. It's hard to stay not falling through the cracks, you know, for those of us who haven't fallen through the cracks.
right,
So my every sympathy goes, but of course you don't, you know, if somebody has lost their mind sufficiently that they are going to perpetrate harm on your family,
right.
then you know you don't, you need to be working. I suppose my take from what you're saying is if you work really hard at what you believe, you know, you talk about the soil, you talk about the community, you talk about how the people that you've met politically are just actors. You talk about, you know, stuff that really matters, you know. Um, if you worked really hard at that and other people worked really hard at that, we will have less of these injured people
You
running around
what?
and causing destruction, you know, and
Exactly.
then it really minimizes, it puts everything back in its place. Because
Yep,
if you know, then it's very rare that you're ever going to need a weapon if people are
absolutely.
healthy and well, do you know? So,
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know if it's true because I just heard it said and I've not tried to research it. So, but you hear these things about, you know, how you know, in tribes in the Amazon, for instance, they don't produce serial killers
Right.
because their community keeps what it is to be human and the people remain healthy because you only do
Yep.
these things arguably if you are no longer healthy. I think it'd be hard to argue against that. So this model of caring for the land, for your children, for each other, and trying to move away from money and power and, you know, decentralize all of these things, you know, they
Yep.
negate the need to be concerned particularly about the other issues. You know, you could relegate the issue by having very healthy people, and then there's no, you know, if everybody's healthy, no one's going to shoot anyone, you know, not entirely, but do you know, it really is going to minimize, you know,
You'll
the
almost eliminate
concerns.
the risk. You'll almost eliminate the risk entirely if we go back to nature.
Yeah. And I mean, how powerful, you have a lot to offer. You really should try to share, because I mean, we've talked, and I'm sad that it's taken us this long to actually talk about stuff, you know, but I mean, of course, we're talking about the convoy. And so in trying to ask questions about the convoy, and, you know, it makes sense, the evolution of our conversation, that we're only getting here now.
Right.
But, you know, it's really nice to talk about who you are and what you believe, because it gives me even more faith that, you know, that there are good people in the world who are going to try and turn this around. And we need every single one of you. You know, like, I it's not just, you know, the Robert Malones and the Edward Dowds and the Mike Edens and, you know, the I'm not, you know, I'm not claiming that in any way they're trying to claim celebrity. They're not. They are just kind of, you know, names that, because of their positions before this happened, are more hold more, not hold more weight, but just they're more well known. And so
Yeah.
people, and, you know, and they're able to talk about things because whatever they were doing before was deeply relevant to what's happening. So that's why that's kind of evolved, that we've got some people who are kind of more figureheads than others. But it's actually the ordinary people, us, we have to change things literally by changing, you know, by, I mean, I'm kind of jealous. I want to come and live on your farm, you know, because, you know, what else is there? You've got your family, feed
Yep.
them, learn how to feed them. Behind me, I want to show you something, just so that you don't run entirely without,
Yep. Yep. My both my daughters do a lot of sewing, and my one daughter actually made a dress when she was in school.
you know, I don't know how to do it. I was only bought the sewing machine for Christmas because I've mentioned so many times that I would love to be
Yep.
able to sew. I feel like, so, I mean, I have done everything in a way. I know I'm a sort of I'm a career failure, but I'm not an academic failure. I've done, you know, everything that I was supposed to do through school. And then I, you know,
Right.
went to a good university and did everything I was supposed to do there. And then I couldn't really hold it together in the real world. So I could always create opportunities, but the
Yeah.
pressure of, I usually fall apart because I'm insecure. And so I would think I'd done something wrong and somebody doesn't like me, and I can't get rid of the negative thoughts. And
Right.
eventually, you know, and also I would always try to do everything perfectly, to the point where it becomes very, very difficult to do whatever job you're doing because you're putting so much pressure on yourself for it to be perfect. So I'm aware of what the kind of flaws were in, or trying to, but, you know, this model that they gave me, has left me somebody. I can't grow my own food. I don't know how to sew. Um, I have no idea how to, say, for instance, generate electricity. I don't know enough about, you know, tradesmanship. I'm lucky in that regard that I actually, Archie was an electrician and he had friends who were all in the trades, and we did a house up, and I was involved in a sort of laboring capacity of, you know, helping everybody and watching everybody and learning from everybody. And I'm really glad that I have had at least that, you know, but I feel like I've been brought up to be completely useless and that it's harmed me, because I felt that in every job I've gone to, that it's like, this is pointless. I am just making money for somebody. You know, my job is to sit here and write about cheap tap from China and try to make it so that other people will buy it. Or my job is to write about, you know, somebody's software platform so that it becomes more, you know, popular. I once worked for an IT magazine, which totally, you know, can you imagine me? I'm in this IT world, you know, everybody, I had no idea what they were talking about, and I needed to write articles about it. But everywhere I'd gone, you know, it's soulless, because it actually really doesn't matter. What matters is what we've been talking about, you know, being able to clothe yourself, the pride I would take if I could, you know, they probably, by the time I can do it, they won't want to wear it. But, you know, if I could make my little girl a dress, that would actually mean a lot more to me than, you know, all the things that I've been taught are, you know, qualifiers of success. If I could feed my children some, you know, food that we three had grown together, sit down to a
Yes.
meal, you know, where the vegetables on the plate come from our garden, do you know, again, what a
You're
win in life.
successful.
You know, that's success. So I'm so grateful for the conversation. Thank you. I mean, it's such an evolution these last 2 years. I have to guard against feeling really desperate because I am so inadequate in those ways. And, you know, and I don't really have, you know, there's no cavalry for me either. Do you know, if I don't make it happen, if I don't, you know, all the things that intuitively, like, I've always wanted to be able to play guitar, you know, not to become a rock star, but to be able to sit in a circle with people that I care about and sing songs. And I'm not talking like Kumbaya, but I mean, I'm Kumbaya is fine. But I just mean like at university, it's just, you know, lots of kids could play things, and at the end of a night you'd find yourself somewhere and people would be playing music and people would be singing, and it's one of the most joyous things, you know, that you can experience. And I'd love to be able to create it. And, you know, it really shouldn't be beyond me to play, you know, a couple of John Denver songs on the guitar, do you know, or Carole King, You've Got a Friend. I should be able to manage this. But all of these things, I haven't prioritized them. I don't have anybody to teach me. That is, I think, a key component. You know, it helps people to have a teacher, not just, you know, their desire and YouTube and some videos.
Right.
You know, you can do it that way, of course. I just mean people need other people, and learning from other people is useful. Anyway, look, you look so tired, and
Oh,
I'm wittering on at you. I've loved our conversation. This is my favorite one of every one that we've had. It's been epically long, so God knows if anybody's going to actually listen to it, but I don't care because it was a wonderful conversation. So if that's all that comes of it, I'm so glad we had it. Thank you.
yep.
Thank you for what you've taught me as well through it. Thank you for making the space for who I am, and understanding that some of the things that you're saying are very new to me. And yeah, just, you're a gentleman. Thank you. I wish you well. And I will go, but I'll catch up with you. You're not getting rid of me now. Ha! I'll come and you guys can show me how to farm something. I have Angelia, the lady I told you about who's vaccine injured. She's in New Orleans. I have no idea where North Dakota is in relation to New Orleans, but
Yeah, they're on the south coast. I'm on the north coast.
so I've got a long way to walk between you all. But you know, one day I hope, you know, if they once the world goes back to normal, there's people all over the, you know, really special people that I'm
Yep,
going to hunt you all down and grow some
that's good.
potatoes with you for a season, you know.
That'd be great.
And you're going to show my children how to do things that I don't know how to do.
I'd be happy
And
to.
wouldn't that be nice?
Yep.
Yeah. So okay, sir, I'll leave you. I'll pester you again in a day or two. Okay, maybe give you 3 days to
Good.
get home or something. Yeah. Okay, you take care.
As well. Thank you.
Okay, take care, sweetheart. Bye bye. Right, then. Bye.